And I mean, this is a casual episode, so it's okay, cool. Hold on, yeah. I got my morning voice right now.
Do you need to do some voice exercises? La 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 la
La
la.
la 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 la. Hello, and welcome to another Green Team of the Legendarium episode. I'm your host, BefuddledPanda, and I have with me today Yettibeats,
Hey.
and fairly newcomer Seth, aka Wombat on Discord,
Hello.
and our Discord overlord Kyptan.
Heyo.
Hello. So, today's episode is a bit of a mid-year check-in. We're halfway through 2024, so we thought we'd do a little recap of the year so far and talk a bit about what we are looking forward to in the second half of the year, but mostly it's just an excuse for us to hang out and chat. I hope that's okay.
Sounds like fun.
In case you are new to us, here's a little intro about this podcast. We are a group of patrons of another podcast called the Legendarium Podcast. Basically, a group of us started a spin-off podcast to discuss books the Legendarium hasn't covered and aren't likely to cover, namely Malazan. We occasionally have guests on, such as Lammy from the Cosmere Deep Dive podcast, and authors. We've been fortunate enough to chat with John Scalzi, Mercedes Lackey, David Brin, Steven Erickson, Philip Chase, and Sebastian de Castell. Can you imagine?
I really can't. I can't.
Right?
I was on that David Brin episode. I'm like, no. What? No.
So we did put out a call for questions on the Legendarium Discord, so we'll be answering some of those throughout the show. Speaking of Discord, if you want to engage with us and other fellow SFF kindred spirits, please do join us on Discord. The link will be in the show notes. And I mean, I figured here I could go around the room and you guys could say why people should join Discord. Why do you think they should join us? Yeti?
Yeah, I'll start. Well, I guess for me, they should join because you'll get incredible film recommendations like Roadhouse or Fern Gully or Brother Bear. I think was one we were talking about recently. Yeah, and I think it's just a friendly atmosphere where like it's kind of interesting how like some of us have met, but like we still have that repertoire of like busting each other's whats, and like it's just kind of quick to like I don't know, be brought in and joke around with people and feel like you've known them longer than you have. So I think the community is kind of special in that way.
I think
I
the most
agree.
contentious debate recently was about which Phil Collins movie soundtrack is the best.
Oh,
Well,
I missed that one.
that wasn't a debate.
It wasn't a
brother-
debate. There were some very strong proponents.
It's Brother Bear.
I mean, I love Brother Bear, but Tarzan's soundtrack was the first one of his that,
You think?
I experienced. So. But yeah, speaking of film, the TV/movies chat channel is the most active of our Discord, according to Kip's data.
Is
Yes.
it? That's the whole thing because there's also
Of like the last 180 days, yes.
but that also
Yeah.
has like the sub threads, like the Avatar, the
It does.
Last Airbender.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes anime. Yeah.
Yes, so we don't just talk about books on Discord. Definitely a lot of other stuff.
TV movies is about twice general these days.
Seth, what would you say why people should join the Discord?
I don't know if anyone spends their time hanging out on Twitter, X, Facebook, Instagram, but
I
toxic.
try not to.
Yeah, toxic might be a word for those places, and we are not that. It's actually probably a wholesome place on the internet, bias aside. And also, if you've ever felt like your TBR is just not large enough, you could join our Discord and get enough recommendations to last you 100 lifetimes, and or destroy any reading order you might have assembled for yourself. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10.
I think that the best thing about our Discord is that you get to know one another and you get to know one another's reading tastes, and eventually the recommendations just really start hitting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
It's the best method for recommendations for books that I've found in my life. I'm just going to say that. I've got like one uncle who really seems to hit it every time at Christmas. But other than that, no, fantastic books I never would have discovered otherwise.
Nice. Is that your reason why
That's
people
my
should join?
reason.
Nice. Yeah. And my reason is all of the above, and also it's I think it's really interesting where it's like when people are they'll post on social media or especially like on Reddit to be like talking about us, like talking about our podcast. And that just seems so surreal, but it's like we're just normal people. So if you just want to talk to us directly, like you can do that on Discord.
Well,
So
speak for yourself. Some of us are above others, I'd like to think.
You mean talking to you doesn't come with an automatic 4-hour Malazan rant?
yes, yes. I hope nobody thinks that. Uh,
well, speak for yourself, Panda, because it comes with one from me. So
I cannot account for anybody else. I can account for myself.
Okay.
Okay, so real quick, I do think it's worth just giving some updates about the podcast because just in case you weren't aware, we are now on YouTube and YouTube Music. RIP Google Podcasts. That was the forcing mechanism. We are still an audio only show, so just keep that in mind. But if you prefer to consume podcasts on YouTube Music, we are there now. We're also on Amazon Music and Audible and iHeartRadio because why not? We've been branching out a bit. Feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We see all the comments. We might not respond to all of them, but we do see them. And I know our show is a bit different in that we're basically like a bunch of mini podcasts in like making up a bigger podcast.
We're a community.
We are a community. So you never really know which episode you're going to get every week, which I understand can be a little hard when you're like, I just want the next episode for, I don't know, Infinite Jest, I guess. That's the newest one
Do
that
we
I
have
did.
listeners for that one?
I know.
We do,
Okay.
Oh, there's
according to
dozens
the
of them.
data. Um, so we now have playlists on YouTube and Spotify to help consolidate our episodes into lists. Yes.
Panda says we now have playlists. Panda means I created playlists.
And by I, you mean me.
Yes, Panda
Yeah,
made
yeah.
these things for us. We should thank her for her wonderful dedication to the pod.
Honestly,
MVP.
it's just like that OCD thing. It's just like, let me just put these in order, okay?
Our culture episodes come out like every 5 to 6 months. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about that in a little bit. And as I said, we are like a bunch of mini podcasts in one, a community. And we do have several of the Green Team members have their own pods as well. So they're doing like double, if not triple duty sometimes. Like Chesky with Libromancy, LRB with Wordless, for example. But anyway, if you would like to support our little pod, our community, please take a moment to like, follow, subscribe, rate, comment, whatever that relevant action is on the platform you listen to us on. We would really appreciate it. So thank you. Okay, let's answer some questions from listeners, especially about like the podcast. We have a question from oh, I gotta save this till later. This is way too hard to go
Oh,
as the first question.
teaser.
Yes. Okay, we've got a question from Jingles.
Hmm.
What series are you still hoping to cover on Green Team?
Does it count if you have imminent plans to do so but haven't done it yet?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Terra Ignota. I just read through
Ta-da!
the series twice so that I could be ready for my reread for the pod.
You read through it, you reread it twice so that you can read through it again.
Yes.
Okay. That's
Well,
dedication.
the first reread, I didn't read the final book. I read the first 3 books, then I read all 4 books, and now I'm going to read it all again for the pod.
Wow. Okay, that series has been really hyped up for me. So
It's a Kip series. Don't immediately assume it's going to be a Panda series.
as we've seen with Exordia.
It's about a lot of politics, philosophy, and for the first book, you'll be like, why do I care about this 710 list?
Oh God. Okay, I'm tempering my expectations.
Yeah. The first 2 books were split up by publisher request. It should really be 1 book.
Oh, it's one of those.
Yep.
Got it. Okay, so I've got Terra Ignota. Anything else from Kip?
I mean, that's the one all my energy is focused on after my current stuff ends. I have no other thoughts. I have no other plans.
No other plan. All right. What about Seth?
I think it'd be a lot of fun to do the Dark Tower series by Stephen King at some point. We have a pretty active Stephen King kind of channel on the Discord where a few people just read the new short story collection, If You Like It Darker, which I have not got to yet. I have failed. But yeah, the Dark Tower, 7 books, Stephen King's kind of magnum opus, I suppose. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I know a few of us were at least kicking the idea around of a buddy read, so maybe they could be strong-armed into. I mean, politely asked to form some kind of team.
That was my top answer was just King in general, or definitely Dark Tower. But like even if like the crew wanted to tackle Dark Tower, and then other people could. Speaking myself, doesn't want to get strong, or does want to get strong arm, but doesn't have the time for another series to do like standalones of his that like would hop in every so often, do a King book. Like I'm probably going to read Doctor Sleep soon, but even any of them like Revival that is short, you can just read it and jump into a pod real quick. Yeah, like Wombat said, we have some pretty diehard, including himself, he's being modest, but some diehard King fans who have read a lot of his stuff. I think that'd be fun for the pod to switch it up, not just in October. So we did Carrie already, which, if I say so myself, was one of the best episodes in podcasting history.
I think Little Red Book would want me to mention that she wants to do the Vorkosigan saga by
I
Lois
was going to
McMaster
say that.
Bujold.
Yeah.
So,
She's carrying the water on that one while I think of Terra Ignota. But eventually, we will have enough episodes under our belt that we can cover a civil campaign, and we will get that rom-com and its collision of well-established characters. Eventually, it will happen.
How many would it take? How many episodes would it take to get there?
Realistically speaking, probably like 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not overwhelming. It's definitely doable.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're fast reads. They're all kind of action thriller paced, even if that's not their content, which is fun.
Yeah. I was going to mention Vorkosigan, but I did also think about more fantasy side. I mean, the reason why I even found out and joined the Legendarium Discord was because of Tamara Pierce's books. I figured
Woo.
we should probably at least cover one of them, one of her
I mean,
series.
we did the book club through the
We did.
majority of Tortall. We
Yeah.
stopped at the Becca trilogy, and that was a fun time. That was a very
It
fun time,
was.
and I'm totally down for doing more Tamora Pierce. Always,
Great.
always and forever. But I also have to keep the science fiction torch alive in Green Team.
Oh, yes. I do feel we have well, maybe because I'm a part of a lot of the sci-fi stuff. I'm like,
All
we
of it.
do have a lot of sci-fi. Well, last couple years I've been reading more fantasy thanks to Malazan. So
And like, where do you put Star Wars? Star Wars fantasy? I think it is.
yeah,
Yeah, space fantasy.
that actually brings up the next question, which is from Mr. Anderson. He literally just asked me, "When are you doing more Star Wars?"
Whenever certain people open up a truce at Bakura.
Yeah. Who's that certain people? I don't know who you're talking about. I have it.
I know you have it. I saw that you picked it up.
Yes.
And I'm really excited to delve into a book that focuses on Luke so much before a lot of his characterization had happened, other than the movies.
keep the Ken Liu train going and read his, what was it, Tales of Luke Skywalker?
Yeah. The Legends of Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I could probably say that the next Star Wars recording, at least, I can't necessarily say when the episode will be released, but the next recording will be within the next 3 months. Uh,
I also have some series real quick, if I could
Yeah.
run off. So there's a few that like also I was trying to think that would are like highly read, I guess. Not to just get viewers, but also just to get our listeners. But like Lev Grossman's The Magician's Trilogy. I wouldn't mind rereading and doing episodes
No.
on those.
I'm not doing
See?
a pod episode on those.
Strong
No way.
opinions already. We already have engagement.
I was gonna say, if you want dissenting perspective, I could volunteer myself as tribute.
That's what I'm saying. There you go.
If you want Kip yells, you can ask me to cover that series.
Ooh, yes. Okay.
I can yell at Quentin, Margot, and Elliot all day long.
Relate to Quentin all day long. Unfortunately, that's not a good thing. I was thinking that Wombat will like this. The Nevernight books by Jay Kristoff.
Mm.
I know
Nice.
a lot of people like him, and I think enjoy those books. I enjoyed the first two, but I think they would have fun discussion. And yeah,
Nice. All right. We got a couple questions from LRB about the podcast. Did Green Team ever convince you to read a series?
I mean, it's convinced me to start several series. I don't know if it's necessarily ever convinced me to finish one.
you said I made a big mistake after finishing multiple or starting multiple.
Yeah.
I read Way of Adon, and then I got stuck in the middle of Prophet of Adon.
Oh.
But I feel like in general the decision to finish is always on me.
Yeah.
I can be convinced to start, but unless I'm covering a series for the pod, it's almost never going to convince me that finishing it is a good idea. However, Book of the New Sun actually did get me to finish because I was doing it with the pod.
Okay. All right.
On my own, I was not proceeding at a pace that would have finished this decade, but with the pod's help, I got it done.
I started Cradle because of I didn't listen to their podcast yet, but knowing that they have episodes, maybe read it.
How far are you?
Well, pretty much almost done the first book.
Okay. So you just got like 11 more to go.
Yeah, I can't comment on either the pod or the books really.
You can't comment on that first book? You don't feel like Lyndon is a traditionally heroic character who proceeds according to...
I don't ever feel like things are going to go bad for him. I feel like, put it that way.
Seth, do you have an answer for this question?
Yeah, probably Book of the New Sun. That was definitely not something I would have picked up on my own without. Shout out to Drew over at Inking Out Loud, who's on our Discord as well, and Huron and Ash, really singing its praises, and I'm glad I did. Actually, thought it was a really interesting set of books. I'm glad I read it, and I might actually reread it one day. But yeah,
Nice.
answer.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to reread it one day, but it might go along with forcing someone else to read it beside me.
I mean, it's on my list to get to eventually. So maybe by the time you're ready to reread it, I'll be ready to read it myself.
It's okay. I'm up. Next up for me in that world is Earth of the New Sun.
Oh, okay. I mean, my answer, everybody already knows. It's Malazan. So there you go.
And we're so proud of you.
Thank you. Actually, I will also add Star Wars. Like I had, desire to start reading Star Wars, but it wasn't until like the pod was like, yeah, we'll cover it. And I was like, okay, cool.
There's so many Star Wars books. It's hard to jump in.
Yes. And the culture. I would say the culture definitely, like, the pod really helped convince me to give it another go. Kip's doing a victory dance over there. Okay. Next question is also from LRB. What authors would you like to interview still?
Oh Jesus!
All of them?
Ooh. Ada Palmer.
Ada Palmer. All right.
And I think she's gettable.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
All right.
I like how we talk about authors like they're Pokemon. think I could catch him.
Gotta catch 'em
She
all.
seems to talk to podcasts a lot, so I think she
Yeah.
would do it.
Actually, okay, that's one thing that I have discovered while doing this podcast is, yeah, you're right. Like, there are a lot of authors, even big names, who are willing to take the time for a small little pod or, creator and chat with them for an hour or two. And I think that really shows, like, for some, maybe it's like they just really love talking about, their work, the genre, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And then others are, yes, I can use all the publicity and marketing I could get. But yeah, people are just really generous with their time, which we really appreciate.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, one who probably isn't gettable, Robin Hobb. I
I
was
don't
like,
know. I saw her
I don't know.
recently go on a podcast.
What?
Yes. So I think it might be doable. I know it might be harder, but I'm gonna say I'm a little cautiously optimistic that she could. Come on.
Fun thing about Ada Palmer, she only has the one series out, and we're going to be covering it. So
That's true.
Well, that is good, like timing it when they have like books come out too. Like I thought about reaching out to Daniel Polanski when he had his book coming out, but then I was like, I'd have to read it in time, maybe. Not a fast enough reader. But
What about Seth? Any authors you would like to see come on?
Yeah, I mean, Yeti nailed it. Queen Hob. Anytime I could talk to her, I probably would just die and float away. But I'd love to talk to Joe Abercrombie. I know he engages with a lot of podcasts or has, and he's got The Devils coming out next year.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, it's so far away. But yeah, seems hilarious and fun. I think Yeti, maybe you've met him at a con, I believe.
yeah, I've been at two or three now. He's always been super personable and like just talks to anyone. And he's very like his interviews is witty and self-deprecating, or the opposite. Sometimes he's like overly egotistical in like a joking way. But yeah, he's someone like him is super friendly. And I was gonna say, but we've already interviewed him. Well, I haven't, but Sebastian De Castell's like this too. Like he's just very
Mm-hmm.
engaging and very friendly with fans and anyone who wants to talk to them. And they also just make a podcast when you have people like that. Somebody willing to just shoot the you know what.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Robert
Yeah.
Jackson Bennett.
I'm gonna say Jacqueline Carey.
Why does that name sound
She'll
so?
start.
Kushiel's Dart.
Okay, yeah. People have been
Ooh.
on the Discord lately, right? I believe.
People have been reading her books on the Discord lately, and I'm very excited for them.
Mhm.
And specifically, it seems like Lady Sweden is really enjoying Jacqueline Carey, and I'm happy to see someone enjoy her.
Nice.
And I do think that she writes in a manner similar to Hobb in her characters. So, Wombat, solid rec.
Hmm.
You have my attention.
There's just more sex.
As long as the
But it's
sad.
tasteful. Oh, it's sad. It's sad.
Yeah,
Will we
right.
cry?
For me, I mean, I've said this before. Esselmont, we would love to have him on once we get to picking up his works for Malazan. And then there is, like, we've talked about this before too, like Martha Wells, would love to chat with her at some point. And I think there are some that I'm like, I guess I would have a Kyptan moment if, like, for some reason we were able to talk to Tamara Pierce.
Insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
So
couldn't imagine. I also can't imagine her focusing on a podcast format for long.
it would have to be very chit-chatty, just
In true Green Team fashion,
Yeah.
maybe she'd fit right in.
yeah. Tangents galore.
I do think that if we did get Tamora Pierce, she'd be most likely to say something about her upcoming books out of like the authors that we could get, something that maybe her publicist wouldn't be happy with.
Oh. I'd be like, can you cut that, please?
But honestly, I don't think they care, because when she does video chats and live interviews, she is unfiltered with her spoilers about future books.
That's true.
There's going to be a werebear.
A werebear?
There's going to be a werebear bartender that one of our protagonists is going to have a love interest in, and I'm so excited for it.
When is that book coming out?
Who knows? That's between her and her publisher.
Yeah. We did get feedback from Nat about the Green Team Book Expedition. So if you don't know what that is, it's basically our activity of the year. Just a little way to help the community engage a bit more. And so every month we have new prompts where, it's like, hey, feature a book that has a maternal character in it, or read a recommendation from somebody older than you. And there are also recurring prompts every month. What book are you most excited to read in the month? And then a monthly wrap up. So it's just little prompts to help spark some conversation. And that's that she thought it's a nice way to promote interaction and sharing. So thank you, Nat.
How did you come up with that, Panda, or did you guys have like a big discussion about?
I'm going to call this a Panda creation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it
Like
was me.
again, all credit to Panda then.
I mean, it's just little things.
Just little things. Yeah, like the entire first draft of this proposal. And then there was some criticism and credit and some adjustments, but no, Panda creation.
Thank you. So if you hate it, it's me. If you love it, it's also me. Okay. I thought it would be fun to just do a quick check-in on our podcast by the numbers.
Yeah.
So we have grown quite a bit. We're now past 800 followers on Spotify, which is nice to see. And we've got a smattering of listeners across, I think it's like 6 or 7 different platforms now. So that's cool. And then we did see the Hyperion Part 1 episode overtake Dead House Gates episode 1. And so
Whoa.
now Hyperion is our second most listened episode ever.
Excellent book.
And I think based on what I can tell from the analytics, it is also our fastest growing episode in terms of listenership.
I'd believe that. It's super approachable for a newbie, as compared to maybe Dead House Gates.
Agreed. Yes.
It's just a series of little vignettes wrapped around in a frame story. It's lovely.
There's a sequel to that, right?
There's 3 sequels to it.
Oh. Is there plans for the pod to do more?
The pod did all of them.
Oh, say no more. I guess.
And we have a playlist on YouTube and Spotify that brings all those episodes together.
That just goes to show how much I ignore the science fiction part of our podcast. What?
Yeah, Yeti, that's such a disservice. There's a great dad story in Hyperion. And you don't need to read further. Just enjoy the dad story.
It's on my radar.
Gardens of the Moon, our first episode, is still at the top by quite a bit, but I could see Hyperion overtaking it in like
coming
a
up
year.
on the sequel.
Yeah.
Where in the top 5 is the live show that was hosted?
Okay, so the live show episode that Yeti is referring to is in February. February of this year. The Legendarium podcast hosted an in-person meetup in near Salt Lake City, Utah, and the Green Team had the pleasure of having I guess we call it a session. I don't know. We got some time in the calendar of events for the meetup, and Yeti did a wonderful job hosting a draft episode using the draft format for who would you include in your fellowship to, was it steal the plans for the Death Star from Vader?
Steal the plans from the Death Star, but it was in like Lord of the Rings area, whatever that's called.
Like Mordor?
Middle Earth. Yeah, I think it was up in Mordor, but you had to like traverse Middle Earth with these characters. And at the top of Mordor was the plans, along with I think Darth Vader was standing watch, maybe, or someone else. Yeah, that was fun, albeit chaotic. At least. I assume that's the slowest growing episode as opposed to Hyperion.
No, it is definitely not the slowest. But that episode is a rare occurrence where we do have film footage
Oh,
because the Legendarium did record film for it, and it is up on the Legendarium's YouTube channel if anybody is interested in seeing the chaos happen.
yeah, that was me, Jingles, Little Red Book, and Stormrunner. For all you super fans out there, for the four of us, did you get on camera, Panda? I know you're off to the side helping out with the.
I am on camera taking notes
Oh,
of all your guys' draft picks
good.
and having a terrible time with the spelling of the character names.
That was the best part.
A while ago, when we were looking at the numbers for the podcast, we had some abysmal number for percentage of listeners who are not male.
Oh.
I would say our numbers are still not great, but they have improved. So, according to Spotify data, because I only get it for Spotify here, at least within the last 30 days, about 80% of our listenership is male, and then like about 14% identifies as female. That number has increased. The percentage has increased a bit. So yay. I do look forward to attracting more non-male listeners at some this year, hopefully.
The
But
fourth wing, who's in it? Who's putting their foot down and joining me?
So we got more listener questions, and I just categorize them as bookish preferences. So it's about like our reading preferences, our discussion preferences. From Stormrunner, he asks, what are folks' favorite types of books or aspects of SFF to discuss? So why do we like talking about it, and what specifically do we like talking about in SFF?
Well, part of the reason I like it is because the ideas can get so bonkers that you just need to talk about them with other people because the ramifications seem to say one thing and you just need to see if other people agree with you.
Yep. Plus one of that. Especially some of the things that we've been reading lately.
Exordia's like threesome at the middle of this world-saving storyline was BS. And then the way that it resolved was further BS in a way that can only happen in science fiction. Yeah.
Yes.
Always something fun to be done with cloned women as well, of course.
Yeah,
Don't give too much away.
I kind of want to second that because, like, some of the premises for some of the stories we read are like, if you just read like a paragraph about it, you might be like, that is wild. And it's pretty fun to be able to have like a very serious conversation about something that might just seem like crazy and not real.
Mm-hmm.
And I also love, we hit some of these authors in our community. Looking at you, Queen Hob, if you're listening, I love you. And you talk about these characters like they're real people. That's how great they are, and how deep and complex they are, or not so complex. Looking at you, Fitz.
He's a very complex man.
I love him because I am him. but yeah, no, it's this discussion, and it's fun and serious, but also hilarious sometimes. Like, take like Lightbringer by Brent Weeks or something, like this crazy color magic or whatever. Like, I don't know what it means. Nobody knows what it means, but it's fun.
Turns out nobody did know what it means.
Well, yes. Womp womp womp. But it's kind of unique. Is it Sanderson? I think said, the cool thing about SFF is it has everything that every other genre has, but dragons and but dragons and just kind of the fantastical, and that is sometimes what just makes it really fun to talk about.
Very well said.
Kind of parrot that. Just mostly for me, when it comes to discussions, is like the characters. which you can do in a lot of other books, I guess. But with the best of the fantasy that I think I've read, obviously Hobb, I think Abercrombie, I'm sure Malazan has this. But like just the characters and the how you see yourselves in them, for better and worse, but then kind of enhanced by that with like either the magic system that's in place, like with the wit in Hobbes books. It's what they can allegories to, or how they enhance characters' troubles or their actual personal characteristics that you can't do in, I guess, regular
Mhm.
books, to either kind of make a point or the skill, I guess, is another one. Like I think we just had someone brought up Kip. Didn't someone just bring up in the Hop channel about like comparing the skill to something that's like an attraction? What was it? Like if
Yeah,
it's
comparing the wit and the skill to like heterosexuality and homosexuality.
right,
It's a theory that I don't think holds much water, but it's fascinating to watch people try it anyways.
right, and like that's why I love fantasy. So you could like even add on to that into characters in the book, and like they're only saying that because of relationships between two characters in those books.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, fan theories are awesome.
I think that a lot of what you guys are saying, I absolutely agree. And it's also just the freedom to experiment, to think outside of the box, to just do these like thought exercises of like, okay, I know this is not our reality, but what if? And just like being able to use your imagination and creativity. And I think in especially in speculative fiction, right? Because that is you are given the freedom to imagine things that would never happen in our world.
Yep.
And I think it's a lot of times it helps you as a reader and a person be more empathetic. You're thinking like, okay, if I were in this situation, if I were in this character's shoes, if I was, in this really bizarre scenario, what would I do? What's possible? What would I do differently? And that's just really cool, and especially when you, like, talk to other people about it who aren't going to look at you like you need to be in an insane asylum, and they're actually engaging with you and contributing like, "Oh, but what about this? You haven't thought about that." That's really fun.
Yeah, I especially love watching the Sanderson fandom know that they're getting magical spaceships and trying to construct them from an age where they're still using standard spears. Like the
Okay.
fandom's like, okay, knowing what we know about this medieval era technology, how is it going to progress into spaceflight?
Wow.
Love that.
Yeah. I mean, some people can think this is a waste of time, like you should be using your time and energy in more productive ways. I disagree. I think we all need creative outlets. And if it helps you like better connect with other human beings, that's productive. Okay. Next question. So we got two from Nat about what we're looking forward to and also what we've read so far. So the first question is any book released in the first half of the year that you were really anxious for and didn't meet expectations? And that second question was any title to be released in the latter half of the year you're anxious for. And I think anxious here could also be interpreted just anticipated, excited for.
I think I've got one.
Yeah.
Yeah. From the Forest by L.E. Modesitt.
Okay.
It is the 23rd entry in his Recluse saga.
Oh my God.
And the previous entry in the Recluse saga I had skipped
Oh, okay.
because I had read the like 2 or 3 books in that storyline that were leading up to that point, and I thought that the quality had been going downhill
Hmm.
in a really obvious fashion. And in this one, I have to say he didn't entirely redeem himself.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, it was a little disappointing. I'm still interested in reading the sequel to this one, book number 24, but I'm really starting to drop off the Recluse series as a whole. I don't know how much longer he's even going to continue writing these. His like scattered timeline is really starting to fill up. Not that he doesn't have plenty of gaps he could insert characters, but he actually had to go back before any of his previous books in chronology to write this one.
Oh, wow. I mean, at that point, it's like Why doesn't he write something different?
I mean, he does. He writes other
Okay.
books.
Okay.
He's just also writing this series.
All right. Yeti, what do you got?
Yeah, I haven't. This is like the first time I've not read a book from this year, like the current year that I'm living in. But the only one it was like I have. I'm probably going to read it next, but it's Tomorrow's Children by Daniel Polanski, and it came out in February. And I guess I'd say I was nervous about it because I read his last book and I love Daniel Polanski. I was kind of middling on it. He did like his take on Narnia, in a sense, and his effed up
Oh.
ways. But and like so it went back and forth between like the human world and his Narnia world. The Narnia stuff didn't think was great. Well, I thought his family dynamics in the real world was like top level. Like it was totally worth reading just for that. He's just so good at character stuff. But yeah, so I'm gonna hesitantly read this, and hopefully it lives up to expectations. But I haven't really got a high from him since The Builders. Really, that was a while ago.
The Builders is so good, though.
Always a fan just because of that. But I wish he'd just, I don't know, get back to something like that. Or even a sequel, I'll take it. Well, or a spin off.
For me, it was two books. One's not out yet, and that would be "Wind and Truth" by Brandon Sanderson. I really was not a huge fan of Rhythm of War, which I've been very vocal about in Discord.
There's dozens of us.
Yeah, but I am quite curious to see if he sticks the landing of the first 5 book arc or whatever the plan is for Stormlight. And then the one I have read was The Empire of the Damned by Jay Kristoff, which is the second in his Empire of the Vampire trilogy. He needs a better name for it. And it was great. Yeah, I mean, if you loved the just absurd vampire madness of Empire of the Vampire, Empire of the Damned delivered, and it was great. Is it the deepest read I've ever encountered? No, but it's what Todd would call a ripping good yarn. And yeah, it was awesome.
Nice.
I would like to announce my retirement from Stormlight after this book 5, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, same.
Oh.
Good or bad? I think I think it's too much and too big. I'm happy for everyone in Sanderson. It's just a big moment. But
Are you saying that when the back 5 are out, you're not going to read them?
well, cause I think it's a good time to cut my losses because it'll restart, right? It'll be like a whole new storyline. I don't have to. This will be finishing something, I think, of some sort, a first era.
There will still be certain characters that I've been waiting for.
If there's a cliffhanger, like in Dune for the movie, I swear to God,
Because we know the flashback characters, and
well, see, I don't. I can't remember. There's too
Okay.
much. He's adding too much. There's so many books. I can't, it's gotten too big for me. I'm too old.
So for me, I haven't really been keeping up with new releases, and the only new release I've read from 2024 is Exordia. I think it actually came out in like January of 2024. And did it meet expectations? Nah. But there's a whole episode on that, so you can go listen to it if you want. My release in the later half of this year that I'm looking forward to, I'll be honest, I haven't really been keeping up with the news either there. But there is a new book coming out that is a retelling of Lady Macbeth, and that's by Ava Reed. That'll be coming out. Yeah, it comes out in August 13th.
Yeah.
So not too long from now.
Over Captain, the 24th book of the Recluse Saga, is coming out November 12th.
Okay, well there you go.
Yep.
I don't know if you're going to pick it up on November 12th, but
Probably not, but I will pick it up eventually. And Lady Astronaut is coming out next year, the Martian Contingency, next March.
is that
That's the only one that I'm waiting for.
wait, who wrote that?
That's Mary Robinette Kowal,
Oh, okay.
and it already has a Goodreads rating of 3.68.
Interesting.
Oh, Goodreads never change.
I will say there's a book that like everyone seems to like that I just couldn't get into, but I know it just has a good reputation. The Black Tongue Thief, I think it's called, by
Uh-huh.
Christopher Buehlman. He has a book coming out the latter half, The Daughter's War, which I think is a prequel.
Okay.
So I might check that out.
Usually, oh, you know what? I lied. There was a new Wayward Children book that came out in January by Shauna McGuire, Mislaid and Parts Half Known, and That one I did enjoy. It was the one before that was a bit meh. But this one I did like, even though I know a lot of people were disappointed because on the cover of the book, it shows dinosaurs. And in the book itself, there were very, very few pages covering dinosaurs. But I really enjoy the characters and them exploring all these different worlds. So I enjoy that.
Is Mercy of the Gods the new James S.A. Corey book? Is that this year?
Is that the short story collection?
No, I think this is
Oh,
a
of
new
course.
one in
Okay.
like the new setting. If so, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I could look forward to that for sure.
Yes, August 6th, 2024.
Well, yet again, my TBR grows.
I don't think it will ever shrink, really.
Yeah, I'll just be walking up a hill forever like Sisyphus, just doomed to fail.
All that boulder.
Oh, apparently Charles Stross has a new series out. Ghost Engine, part of the Shining World series. I might give that a try. Oh no, wait. It's a work and published. Can't be published before mid 2024, more likely 2025. Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Or 2026 even, maybe. Oh, he seems to be taking aggressive advantage of the idea that if you publish your book yourself on Goodreads, you at least control it and you don't have it automatically completed by some sort of AI that then takes control.
Oh, you mean like when the actual publish date is? Like he gets
Yeah.
to control when that is?
Yeah. Well, rather when it appears on Goodreads, because
I
Goodreads
see.
will just scoop and scrape and try and get all the books, and sometimes it gets information wrong, and the author can't correct it if they weren't the one who submitted it in the first place.
Yeah, it's really dumb.
Yeah.
So we've got a few like ongoing book projects, like I'll call them book projects. Just they're like it's more than one episode basically to cover either a series or a particularly meaty book. And so this list might be a bit incomplete, but here are the things that we've got going on for this year. So, as we said, we have Star Wars going. We did complete the original Thrawn trilogy by Timothy Zahn. And the next book, next Star Wars book, will be The Truce at Bakura. We've been covering the Culture series. The next book to cover will be Use of Weapons.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. I know lots of people have been waiting for that. I'm a little apprehensive, but I'm in for the ride. We've got a small group covering Infinite Jest, that meaty monster of a book. And I think it'll be 4 episodes maybe.
I think so, and I think they're just about done.
Yeah, they're wrapping that up. The episode 3 just released as of today, as of this recording. And then the Malazan crew is covering the Backlane and Corporal Broach novellas, which we've recorded 2 episodes, and we'll be covering the 3rd one shortly. Is the Book of the New Sun done? Are you guys done?
We're going to be recording Earth of the New Sun in a few weeks.
Okay. Is that book 4?
That's book 5. Book
Oh, book
4
5.
finishes the Book of the New Sun, and then there was addenda after.
Ah, okay. So more to come on that. We've recently kicked off the Dandelion Dynasty, and we have the first episode for Grace of Kings out, and then we'll be recording the second episode in July. And there is also coverage on the Alex Verus series.
Nice.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of enthusiasm for that series, of which I hope to get to eventually. And then there's a Stephen Bruce. Is that how you say his name?
I say Brust. I don't know.
Okay. There's Vlad Taltos series.
Taltosh.
Tatosh. Oh god.
Taltosh. Yeah.
There's that one going on. And then are you guys done with Old Kingdom or not yet?
Yes, we're done with that.
Done with Old Kingdom. Cool. And I'm sure there will be more new book projects that get kicked off in the second half of the year. But we do know that Terra Ignota is coming in the second half of this year.
Yes.
Yes,
absolutely.
Am I on that group?
If you want to be on that, you can be.
Hmm.
We only have 3 people right now, I think. So
He's thinking about it.
This has been the year of me reading everything with everyone all at once.
I mean, you can still read and not record with us if you want, but We'll probably be doing 2 episodes per book for that. So
Yeah, oh yeah, I would imagine. I read the first
Yep.
little bit of it earlier in the year.
you can definitely be on the primer episode.
Okay.
That takes no effort, right?
Yeah, there we go.
You just be the newbie and ask questions.
Yeah. But yes, there will be there will be a minimum of 9 episodes on Terra Ignota.
Because there are 4 books.
Load with enthusiasm and excitement.
We have a listener question from D. If books were forbidden from manufacture, and we had to record words on different mediums, like stone tablets or scrolls, which medium would you prefer?
Scrolls, yeah. I wouldn't want to lift heavy stones around. My significant other already complains enough about how many books I have just all over our house, everywhere, constantly. So, yeah, if those upgraded to stone tablets, I'd be in a lot of trouble, probably. And yeah, I like my significant other and would like to still be with them. So,
Yes.
I'll go with faults in a diamond crystal.
Oh my god.
I'll go with carbon 12 versus 13 in a crystalline matrix picked up by an atomic force microscope or photonics.
Would you enjoy that reading experience?
My device does all the translation for me, of
Oh,
course, and
okay.
it's a very compact and small form factor.
Okay, all right.
I like your solution.
And if you do it right, it can even function as its own battery.
Yeah, I guess I do mine on like cocktail napkins or something. Whatever's on it. It's usually what I do anyway. It's next to my bed or sticky notes.
I think I would go with like audiobooks, but there's like a digital transcript that gets generated from the audiobook. I think that's the most practical. And we already have that.
I mean, if we're not aiming for practicality, and
Mhm.
clearly I wasn't.
No, you
Let's
weren't.
let's put it as sound waves going through a delay column, like old Mercury delay tapes in early computing.
How would you?
You have a speaker on one end of a medium in which the speed of sound is relatively slow, and
Uh-huh.
then you have a microphone on the other end, and then you loop that microphone back around into the speaker. But for the first recording, you just insert your audiobook, maybe at like 64x speed or 256x speed or 2000x speed in vibrations, and then it travels down the loop of the medium and then just kind of circles over and through. And because it's an entirely analog system, it will eventually either lose the noise that you have generated in it or convert it all into a digital format, in which case it can do it forever.
I think
Impressive.
yours is like a primitive version of my answer.
Yeah, but it's so much cooler.
All right, you're going for the cool factor.
I'm just imagining libraries full of like pipes of liquid metal or crystal
Wow.
and the backup generators to make sure that the process is never ever interrupted and all the signals lost.
You definitely are more imaginative than I am.
Yeah, that form of electronic storage has never been used as long-term storage, only as working storage, as like a precursor to a computer's memory before they
Yeah,
invented flash memory.
yeah.
But if I lived in a culture universe, I could set up a little museum, and I could have that as
You could.
my eccentricity.
Oh my goodness. You would have quite a few eccentricities. Okay, there is an interesting question from Tormig. He asks, are publishers killing innovation? Or is self-publishing saving it? Or is self-publish flooding the market with mediocre books? So, I mean, none of us are in the publishing industry, and none of us are like in any way professionally affiliated in publishing. So, this is really just your own personal take. Does anybody have thoughts on this one?
Self-publishing is saving niche books. Publishing is finally starting to understand that a wider variety of stories might work, but they're also still locked into their preconceived biases about what will make money and what won't.
I think that's really well put.
Fanfic is saving the world again.
I don't think I read enough self-published to even like comment. I'm sure more self-published authors could have more to say about that, but it does seem like it is more of an accessible way to get your work out there. But yeah, I don't know if I'm sure even with like self-published, there's a lot of self-published like AI now. Like they talk about
Yeah.
flooding the works. Like I feel like it's going to be flooded even more with just stuff trying to find a needle in a haystack kind of thing.
In our companion Discord over with Inking Out Loud, Drew McCaffrey likes to post pictures of Kindle ads, which are clearly AI books. And they've just got like the word honor spelled with like 2 R's and 3 O's in the cover image, but not in the actual text.
I was gonna say, wow, it is fantasy. Who knows how the spelling's?
No, honor, adding in a Y randomly. AI generated novels are a huge problem on Amazon right now, and it's really upsetting to me.
Yeah.
I would say that I don't think publishers are killing innovation. I do think at some extent self-publishing is saving it, but right now we haven't found that good equilibrium of like pretty much anybody can publish, but being able to weed out honestly the crap that gets put out there. We don't have a really good mechanism for that. So that's why you should join the Legendarium Discord and get more tailored and personalized recommendations from actual readers.
Yes. Yes, you should. I do think it's interesting, if I can, that there are big authors like Sanderson, famously self-published,
Yeah.
secret novels or whatever, but then also traditionally published them later, I think.
Yes.
But it is kind of interesting that authors with that much success and acclaim might be also, playing with the self-publishing market. And I guess I'm just curious to see if that actually changes anything down the road, or if it's just Sanderson, trying to think out.
I think it's really courageous and brave and generous of Sanderson to release some of the books in the way that he has through the self-publishing route, because you see things like, oh God, what was that? When Harper Lee died, right? They published that book posthumously as an unfinished draft. So many
Right.
authors have resisted publishing their works, their unfinished works, things they consider not up to their standards.
Michael Crichton.
Michael Crichton, sure. Lots of people. And their publishers have turned around after their death and been like, no, full price.
Yeah. Or like their family members decide.
Exactly. They finally get power of attorney somehow. They make it happen. And they charge full price. They do the full marketing tour. They're like, the unfinished masterwork by blah, blah, blah. And Brandon Sanderson's like, hey guys, this was my master's or PhD or whatever thesis at Brigham Young, and it's not good, but you all seem to want it. So here's an ebook version for free.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I really commend him on that.
Well, I could say, as with like the self-publishing with like established authors, Sanderson definitely. I think he's in a world of his own doing that, but other authors are doing it too. I know Michael R. Fletcher did it with like either a new book of his or he's like kickstarting like a special edition of his book. But I think these authors, it's the same that's happening in like the film industry where the publishers, I don't think, are just taking as much risk. Same with like movie studios. So you see these authors of their own work kind of betting on themselves. Like directors in film have been like financing their own movies because Universal or Warner Brothers, they don't want to because it doesn't look like it'll make them enough money. And I feel like, I don't know if that happened with Sanderson, if any of the 4 he had, but I'm sure with a lot of the other authors who we've read on the hair, and it's not like first-time authors. It's like authors who have been successful. They're probably pitching books and they're saying, no, that's not going to make us enough money, or, it doesn't have enough upside. So I think self-publishing is just, essentially people betting on themselves, whether you're a first-time author or you've been doing it a while, unfortunately.
I will say though, there are smaller publishing houses who are dedicated to publishing non-mainstream kind of works.
Yep.
And then there are houses like Tor where, they have their niche of science fiction and fantasy, and oftentimes they do publish like quite out there stuff. But that being said, it's like it's kind of in the publisher's favor where the barrier to self-publishing is so much lower now, and they can basically see what gains traction, what gains momentum, and then choose to pick that up, right? To then capitalize on the success.
I know, like the books Babel did by Bancroft.
And what was that
Wool,
other SFPBO winner?
yeah, Wool was like one of the first that had that success.
The Sword of Kygan, I believe, was self-published.
Yeah, Michael J. Sullivan's books. Sort of Kygan, that happened to.
Yeah, but Sort of Kygan also got canceled.
Yeah, it is interesting, and I know Sanderson has been kind of strong-arming, like, was it Audible and or Amazon into changing some of the
Audible, yeah.
Yes.
Audible, like the royalty stuff. So there's,
Mm.
I think, like, positive changes being made in the industry because of some of this stuff, but also guys like Sanderson who really are going out of their way trying to help everyone.
I mean, one of the most recent successes is like Legends of Lattes, right? Like it was self-pub and then
Travis
got picked up.
That's what I was thinking of. Legend of
I mean, and how do we consider fanfic published on like AO3 as self-publishing?
I do not know
And
anything.
authors who make the jump from there to actual publishers.
People who do fanfic, they're not getting paid for it, are they?
Like Tamsin Muir. Sometimes they get paid for it. Generally, no. If you have like trademarked characters, you're not allowed to get paid for using those characters.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, yes, there are quite a few authors who've become successful and they've come out of the fanfic world. And I would say, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? They honed their craft, they started writing in fan fiction, and then they were able to turn that into something more of their own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what else is the Star Wars EU universe but a bunch of published fanfic?
I know. I will make a comparison, and I might get a lot of hate for this, but Brandon Sanderson is kind of like the Taylor Swift for SFF publishing.
No lies detected. Damn.
Just saying.
He's got his conventions. He could do an Eras tour.
Dragonsteel is blown up. Okay, I'm conscious of time, so I'm gonna do rapid fire. This is like the miscellaneous, like LRB plus a smattering of others section. So real quick, what is your favorite dessert?
Apple pie.
Apple pie.
Any pie, but not any pie.
Creme brulee.
Creme brulee, because it's got dairy in it.
Probably just like brownies for me.
Nice. One of my favorites is like the Whole Foods tiramisu. Just go try it if you haven't. Donuts or Danishes?
Donuts.
Donuts for sure, yeah.
I agree, especially Krispy Kreme. I know that's basic, but whatever. And then from Jingles, best cheese or cheese-like product? Kip?
Fondue.
Fondue?
Fondue.
Any particular cheese?
The classic Emmentaler and Gruyere.
I'm not even going to pretend I know what that is.
Well, he said cheese-like product, which is obviously setting up to say American cheese, the superior cheese-like product. Love it.
Where's that ban button?
I love it in omelets. It's just delicious on burgers. Yeah.
Seth?
Pacific Northwest guy here. Anything from Tillamook Cheese Factory.
Yes, I agree.
That's a choice.
There's also Beecher's up in the Seattle area. So Beecher's mac and cheese, their fried cheese curds, amazing.
If I had to pick a single cheese, though, I might pick for like an everyday cheese. I would pick either like a really hard Gouda, like a 3-year Gouda Beamster, or the Dauphinois truffle version.
Ooh, truffle got me. I love truffle.
Dauphinois is an ultra pasteurized double cream brie-like cheese. What they do is they take the milk and then they take most of the water out of it and then they make the cheese.
I think I've had something like that. It is really good. And
their truffle version, though a little hard to find in the supermarket, is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Not too overpowering.
Awesome.
Goes great on some water crackers.
Our last question before we wrap up. Darian asks, in a battle royale between all GT members, who wins? Seth, who do you say?
I don't know. I feel like Storm's in really good shape.
Yeah.
I
I've met
say
him.
Seth
He
wins.
is.
I was gonna go with Seth.
But Storm's like nice and could like also just weasel through the battle royale, and then we will all just wipe each other out. You know.
I don't know. I feel like if we're going on niceness, someone's gonna White Knight Panda to victory.
Oh,
That's
well,
true.
thank
Like
you.
who could battle royale Panda? Like you did. Yeah, that's probably a better answer. All right, second Panda.
No. I am not physically intimidating at all. So
Exactly why you win this. Yeah.
As long as you don't kill yourself by eating some dodgy berries. Like,
oh my
I don't know.
goodness.
Thought about it a little bit. I was thinking at first I was going to say D because he would write these massive long paragraphs. We'd all be occupied reading and then take us down.
no.
All right, just skip it. Okay. Yeah. I'll say then Huron, just because he's always trolls and he gets me so angry with his idiotic takes that you just be able to pin people
God.
that way.
Oh, I just wanted to add one thing at the end of this. It's not battle royale, but it is kind of battle royale, so that it's on the record. Casablanca is a skippable movie.
This is how the battle royale starts.
Yeah,
Oh,
it can live
no.
here in the history. I said it, and it's a hill I'm willing.
I agree. I agree. It's a skippable movie.
You're baiting me to throw shade at Dune 2. We're not going to do it. Not going to lose our followers.
I haven't seen it, so I don't
So you're
know.
tacitly on our side.
I guess so.
By default.
Somewhere in that.
Anything else you guys want to chat about before we close? All good?
I'm surprised at the fitness and food journeys that people have been on the server. It's been a wonderful thing to watch.
Yeah.
Fel, you're a beast. It's been watch your journey.
Yeah.
I'm about to go stuff my face with delicious fatty bacons and things. So
I'm about to go pour half a jar of dulce de leche on a cake. So
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Bacon and caramel, that sounds delicious.
Yeah. I would just add that, like, I hope more people just join the community, and even just like, even if it's lurking on Discord or even joining like the Patreon and joining episodes, even if it's small episodes, not like covering whole books, but like goofy ones. I remember my first one was like doing the women of science fiction and fantasy, I think. Just a laid back kind of discussion with good people, and everyone's really accepting. And I don't know, it's always fun when there's new people on here that aren't AI bots, which I never can tell until people call them out on here. Oh, no, a new person. I got it. But for the people that do join, it's very friendly.
Amen. And with that, thank you for joining us for this mid-year check-in in the year 2024. And we shall see you next time. Hope you check out the rest of the episodes that we already have. And who knows what other interesting things we'll come up with for the second half of the year.
Woo.
With that, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah.
All right. Other things. Kip's taking his cake out of the oven.
Go behind the curtain.
Yeah.